So now we're going to start adding other interesting objects to the table. So let's start with pop bumpers. So you click your pop bumper here and then you click on the table. So we're going to zoom in. And what I tend to do here is at the moment this does everything, puts everything on. I normally turn the cap off because it's kind of pointless to have that one on. It kind of obscures what you're actually doing. So if we go to the play field, the one way I found to do this to position it in the middle, if you go to view and outline, you can get an idea and you can try and line it up. But again, you're lining it up with the artwork, not the actual hole. So if you get the radius, at the moment it's 45, which I think is just too big anyway. So if we make that 20, make it a bit smaller. Let's make it 17, 15. That'll do. So if you make it really small, you can line up the inner circle with the hole, then make it back to something like 38, which is actually a bit more reasonable towards the size that they are. So you get that one, then copy and paste it, put one there, copy and paste that one, put one there. Again, we're going to make these two, what did we say, 15? Yeah, that one there. There. Right, turn these back to 38 for the meantime, and lock them all in position. So that's your pop bumpers put in dead center on their posts. So next you have, let's go back to the blueprint. We can have some rollover targets. So you click on rollovers, click on the table. So depending on what there is, I mean, these are just standard. These are standard wire rollovers. You go up to shape, and you can have like the old star-shaped rollovers for the older machines, some buttons and different shapes and pieces. But we're going to stick with the wire. So you have it centered, and then what you want to do is go to rotation, and then have it rotated at whatever you want. So 330, no, 310. There we go. So you've got two things going on here. The rotation is the rotation of the actual object as it appears on the table. Go to solid. The box is the trigger. So the line in the middle is kind of almost irrelevant. It's just where the visual part turns up. So you make the box, the actual trigger box, the place where you actually want it. That, and then you can lock it in position. If you want it on different levels, if you want it as one up in the air on a different thing, you can have it on a different surface. So if you had it on a ramp, say you wanted it on top of this rubber, which is 50 high, you could click this, and then that's called wall 022. So you get this and you go down and you put this onto wall 022. So that would now be 50 high. That would now be up in the air, but we don't want that. So we're going to set that back to none. And the other thing you have on this one is the hit height. So that's actually how high it is, the ball, how high it is that when it still gets affected by something going over it. So those are rollovers. Then we have gates. So there's a gate. If we look at our photos, we can see there's two gates up the top. And I happen to know there's another gate coming out the sides. Here. It's here. So we can get our gate. Click here. Again, this has got a rotation, so I reckon that's about minus 35. Or you could call it, because it works in 360 degrees, so that's probably more like 250. No, I don't know. What is maths? There we go, 300. So that's to get the angle. You see the arrow pointing one way. If you want it to go two-way, you can click two-way and there'll be an arrow on both sides, but we don't. So then you go to length. So length is basically how wide it is. I don't know why they didn't say width, but you know. So 150, no, make that 70. There we go. Actually, can make it probably a bit less. 5. So that means that any ball that comes down there, actually we want it to be smooth on the, if you see the line actually of the gate leads it to be smooth as it comes down. So you want to move it a bit further up, maybe have it 175. So it has a smooth transition and doesn't get trapped. And then we can tune that depending on what we see on machines, how it acts on the real machines. Temptation is to make it play a bit smoother if possible, unless you can see a physical bump on a real machine. And I think that's a little bit. Okay. So then lock that in position. The other thing you can do with these is you can assign them to their collections. So you assign this to gates. They have all your gates in the same place. Go up to the rollovers, and I don't think there's a collection for rollovers. No, so collection, create from selection, rollovers. Again, this is for the sound later on, but it helps if you just do it as you go along. Just notice here, the reason that they're so much bigger than these ones is this is the size of the actual cap, so the plastic hat of the pop bumper, whereas this is the actual active pop bumper, the actual piece of metal, the reactive solenoid driven part, which is what confuses a lot of people. Anyway, easily distracted as I am. Okay, so that's all of those. And we're going to save targets for a different time. Although actually you can at least position the targets. So we get our targets down here. The arrows, which way they're pointing, which way they're struck from. So you can choose which type, drop target, simple, or beveled, normal hit targets, rectangle, round, slim. So these are hit target slim. Set the orientation. Wrong way. 305. There we go. So position these. Generally with a target, the front of the target is almost flush with the front of the hole. Generally, you can go and again cross-reference these so that you can see exactly where they're supposed to be as you line them up. And that one needs to be changed. So they can all be slightly different angles. And we know these down here, those are the bigger, thicker targets. There we go. So we know those are thicker targets. So hit target rectangle fat. Again, 300, not a bad guess. Then copy and paste these. And so they're all in the right position, so they're all in the same place. And then if we run it, you can't see anything because the ramps are in the way. So what's a good thing to do sometimes when you do want to do stuff like these? Oh, actually, all of these have. See, we've made a mistake here, which is good because we can show you how to get rid of the mistake. So if you don't have the layer selected when you create an item, it creates it on wherever the selected area, selected layer is. So we have unfortunately created loads of things while we've had left ramps selected. So in this case, it's probably easier to select everything and then deselect the ramp because there's less objects and it's easier to find out where you're clicking. A little bit of fine stuff with the ramp there. And then we're gonna, so that's all of the other table objects selected. We're gonna click main layer, and then we're gonna click this little finger button, which moves everything to the main layer that's selected, leaving our lamp around. Oh, we've missed a bit. We go to the main layer, select that, click left, was it left ramp? Yep, click left ramp and move that back to that. So now that's there. Right ramp's okay. So now everything's on the main layer. So otherwise, if you want a single object, you just click the object, click the layer you want it on, and then click the little hand icon, and it moves it to that one. And that's how you make table objects and move them around.